And now opening the doors for some insightful conversations lined up for you for the day. Moving on, today our first keynote speaker is the founder CEO of Convergence Foundation, a philanthropic organization, the founder chairperson of the Central Square Foundation, a non-profit organization improving learning outcomes for school children across India through system level reforms, and is the trustee also of Ashoka University. Former private equity investor who co-founded and ran one of India's leading private equity funds, Chrysalis Capital, Chris Capital. Mr. Ashish Dhawan has served on the board of trustees of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation since 2022. He has been recognized as the next-gen leader in philanthropy by Forbes India for his charitable work. He was placed 15th on the 2014 Hurun India Philanthropy list, a ranking of the most generous individuals in India. A Yale graduate, yes, a Yale graduate and Harvard Business School alumnus. From his remarkable journey in philanthropy to today's stage, please join me in welcoming Mr. Ashish Dhawan.
Thank you for having me here. Dr. Bhasin is a hard act to follow with his personal anecdotes. I must tell you that the Oberoi Group is very personal and very dear to me, this hotel in particular. None of you will know this, but I actually met my wife for the first time in the Palms, in the coffee shop. I was working in New York at Goldman Sachs, and I had a Brazilian girlfriend, and my mother somehow convinced me that I had to let go of my Brazilian fantasy and get married to an Indian woman. And so she was on a warpath to find women for me. And one of the women she uncovered is my current wife, Manisha, who I met in the coffee shop right here. And then later, when I started Chris Capital, which is a private equity fund, I was originally in Bombay, and then we moved to Delhi, and our office was actually here in the Oberoi Hotel from 2003 onwards, and for a decade, over a decade actually. So very thankful that I could come to work here every day, go to the gym here every day. It's like home. I probably spent more hours in this hotel than I did in my own home. And my own journey in terms of transitioning from the corporate world to the social sector, doing philanthropic work, actually happened in this hotel. Before I decided to make the transition, I didn't just want to leave without anything planned. So I had this idea that in my 40s, I must leave my corporate career and do something that's more publicly spirited. And as I sort of approached 40, I started thinking about it. Sanjeev Bikhchandani, who started Naukri.com, InfoEdge, is a friend of mine. So he and I had lunch actually in this hotel, and we conceived with the idea of Ashoka University. And we had several meetings then. Every Saturday, we would meet once a month in the conference room in 101. And that's where Ashoka University was born, in a sense. And our group would meet there and plan, and then eventually we had the courage to go ahead. And even when I started Central Square Foundation, our first few meetings were here in this hotel. So I just wanted to give you that context. But after saying all these nice things, I do want to, and listening to the remarkable man that Rai Bahadur was, I do want to say that I think the Oberoi Group is not doing enough. That your industry is not doing enough. That we have really failed our country. I'm saying this to be provocative. Yeah? I'm well-meaning. I actually have started a number of foundations after the ones in education, about 10 or 15 in the last 6-7 years. One of them is called the Atithi Foundation that works on tourism. So I'm very new to tourism. It was only started a year plus ago. But in the process, I've met a lot of people at state level, in the government, private sector, etc. I think it's shameful that, at this stage, we get 1% of the world's foreign tourists. It's a shame. 10 million foreign tourists come to India every year. 30 million go to Thailand. 30 million, China used to be more. Now that China is blacklisted, 30 million still go to China every year. Vietnam, which is a puny little country, 21 million foreign tourists. So I know that it's easy. It's like with our other businesses, manufacturing firms, consumer goods firms get lazy because we have a large domestic market. And that doesn't give them the ambition to be global or to attract global or to export, etc., etc. I somehow feel that our whole tourism industry has also been lulled into complacency because we have a large domestic market. It's a shame that Goa attracts 500,000 tourists a year. It's actually much below where it was pre-pandemic. And that Indians don't want to go to Goa and want to go to Phuket instead, which, by the way, attracts 10 million foreign tourists a year. The government, I work with the government on many other things. I must say, this is not a priority. Whatever we may say, it's not a priority. It's not reflected in the budget. Central government has a budget of 2,500 crore, nothing. The state of UP has a budget of 500 crore for tourism out of a 9 lakh crore budget, their state budget. Even states like Rajasthan, which gets almost just under 2 million foreign tourists, has 1,000 crore budget for tourism. It's ridiculous. I don't understand, it's the industry, and I've interacted with CII and FICCIs, the people who represent the industry, and some of them CEOs of companies. But my view is they make little asks instead of looking at how to grow the pie. How do we make the pie larger? So what I'm going to present for you is just 4 or 5 ideas, and I hope that you will be my partner in pitching this to government so that we can actually grow the pie. And not grow the pie for domestic tourists, that'll happen naturally, but really have a vision and grow the pie to attract foreign tourists to India. Every foreign tourist spends much more, and there's huge spillover benefits going forward. This is, by the way, the most labor-intensive industry in an age of AI, where everybody's worried about knowledge workers and what will happen to our IT exports, which is really a risk. I was in China for a week, 2 weeks ago, and I was there even in November last year. And by the way, the robots are coming. So even in sectors like manufacturing, I've been to auto factories in China completely automated. And the Chinese are now working on an agricultural robot, a construction robot. There are 2-star, 3-star hotels in China where the receptionist is a robot. Obviously, delivery, we know robots do, but even they're working on a cleaning robot. They haven't gotten the sheets quite right, but they'll get there because the hands, the dexterity, they're getting very close. So I still think that it's going to take a long time in service industries for robots to come. It's going to come to manufacturing first, and it's going to come to knowledge work. So this is the one industry that can really create jobs. There are already 40 million jobs, but I think the next 40 million jobs are going to come from where? I think they can come from tourism. But if we don't think of growing the pie, if we don't think of, taking the foreign tourist base from 10 million to 30 million, we're not going to get there. So let me give you 3, 4 ideas. Firstly, we spend nothing on marketing. Can anybody guess what our budget was for marketing? Incredible India was this campaign that we ran for a long time. And I'm not saying that marketing is the only thing. You have to fix tourist experience, infrastructure, all of that. But last year's marketing budget, Government of India, 3 crore. I think it's just ridiculous. Thailand spends $200 million. How can where's the awareness going to be created? And the only thing, therefore, that happens on social media is negative stuff. India's unsafe, India's dirty, India's this, India's that. So I really think we have to work to convince. I know there was some ghapla with this marketing budget earlier, pre-COVID. And that's created something in the minds of our leaders that, but I think as an industry, you have to make this pitch that, look, budgets have to grow. This 3 crore is ridiculous. The 2,500 crore central government budget is ridiculous. And it's spread like peanut butter. It's spread so thin it has no impact anywhere. I mean, if you're going to spend that 2,500 crore across 100 tourist sites, what is it going to do? Nothing. It's literally spread like peanut butter. Makes no impact at all. State governments spend nothing. So first point is we have to spend much more money. Marketing, on infrastructure, if we want to really attract foreign tourists. By the way, the ROI on tourism is actually extremely high. If you look at economic studies, obviously the job creation is very high, but for every rupee spent by government on infrastructure, the payback is 6 to 8 rupees over the course of a decade. In GST, indirect taxes, hotel taxes, etc. So it's a no-brainer. You're getting 6 to 8 times your money back, unless nobody shows up, unless these are, ghost hotels, or private sector will build the hotels. Unless nobody shows up to generate the revenue, which I think is not the case. In India, we've just underspent. So point number 1 is we need to spend much more, right? Point number 2 is we need to radically improve ease of doing business in tourism. We've done a lot of detailed work. You all know more than me because you set up hotels, how painful it is, and all the different licenses you need in different states and the time it takes and all. But we shared a lot of what we had found with NITI, but also with the CAPSEC. And as you know, the CAPSEC has this task force now working on deregulation at state level. The good news is that in phase 1, the hotel industry wasn't included, but in phase 2, it has been included. And NITI is also pushing. But I think now is the right time to push hard because they've accepted the fact that ease of doing business needs to improve in tourism. And so this is the moment to strike, to make the bold asks and to ensure that not only is it easy to set up a hotel or operate a hotel or a restaurant or a cafe or a homestay or whatever. There are so many inconsistencies even with homestay policies in India. So I think we need to fix that landscape. And not just the ease of doing business, the cost of doing business. I'll give you an example. We had a small team as part of the Atithi Foundation working in Uttar Pradesh. And the state said we're not getting enough hotels. And they wanted more 2-star, 3-star, 4-star hotels in their cities. And when we looked at it, we said, your land cost is just too high. And so we benchmarked their building norms, the ground cover, the parking, the FSI, the setbacks, all of that, and showed them how ridiculous it was. And Uttar Pradesh actually thereafter doubled the FSI for hotels. They doubled the FSI. Nobody's making that case. Why aren't you making? Hotels have a very small footprint in urban India. If the land cost is high, somebody should be making the case that we need to lower the cost of doing business for hotels. So point number 1 is greater money, greater budgets. Point number 2 is ease of doing business and cost of doing business. Obviously, if land cost is high, the hotel prices are eventually going to be, room prices are going to be high. So UP understood this and doubled FSI. Why can't every state do the same? A third is what I would say is the idea of a destination management organization. Tourism has a problem. Our ministry even has very limited power. It's a coordinating body at best, the same at state level. It doesn't have the authority to do lots of things that really help improve tourism. If we want to go from 10 million to 30 million, if you have to improve infrastructure, work with urban local bodies, transportation, civil aviation, there's lots of departments, ministries at play. The idea of a destination management organization is that it pulls all this together. So there's a body to help coordinate. Many of you will know this, but when the Statue of Unity was built in Kevadia, they actually they passed an act to empower the CEO of that authority to then develop the region. And that person was tasked with creating a plan, a roadmap, looking at the infrastructure, making the ask, going out and soliciting investment to come in, ensuring that the tourist experience was good. That CEO happens to be an IAS officer, but that doesn't need to be the model. I think a DMO model could be put in place where there's a private sector CEO for the destination management organization. And the DMO would be for a circuit, right? So northern Madhya Pradesh, I mean, you all set up a beautiful hotel in Khajuraho, but I think there is that circuit from, Khajuraho to Orcha to Chanderi to Gwalior. There's a circuit, probably 5 days or something. And there needs to be a DMO to manage that. And around the world, this is not an alien concept. It's a known concept. So I think the industry should be pushing hard that we need DMOs at least across the top circuits in India. And in some cases, we need to be even bolder and say, let's give the DMO completely to the private sector. Let's work out an economic model. Hampi, 20,000 tourists, foreign tourists a year. Angkor Wat gets over 1 million. Similar asset. I mean, if you've been to both, I mean, it's not like one, you'll go to one and say it's world class, and you'll go to the other one and say it's tier 2. It's a 50x delta. Radical idea, put out a PPP and maybe give it to the Jindal group. They're already there. And give them land or give them certain approvals so they can monetize land in a manner the way Delhi airport becomes viable within AeroCity, so that they then take care of certain aspects of developing, whether it's a museum or other things in that region. So it's not just dependent on CSR. So I think there are ways to do it, but the most important thing is to set up this DMO structure. And industry needs to push for it. We've convinced the ministry, we've convinced NITI, they now believe in it. We are working with a couple of states to start DMOs. But I think that's the only way you'll improve tourist experience. Otherwise, you'll always be stuck with a coordination problem. And nobody will have the vision for what to do. When you went and spoke to the Punjab Chief Minister, Amritsar gets huge footfall because of the Golden Temple. They don't monetize it because hardly anybody stays, even one night. And if they stay a night, it's the same experience of Amritsar and maybe going to the border, and that's about it. There are 8 sites around Amritsar that could be developed to ensure that people stay 2 or 3 nights, as opposed to just 0 nights, So I think that's the third idea is we need DMOs, destination management organizations, and ideally backed by an act so that there's some authority. Now, I realize in some urban areas, it's hard to give a lot of authority because already other bodies have the authority. There, you create a light touch DMO, which is responsible for the tourism plan, the marketing, and the investment promotion. But in areas that are more greenfield, you could have a heavy touch, like the Kevadia kind of DMO, the Statue of Unity DMO. And there's something in between as well. So what we've now proposed is a 3-tier DMO model depending on the kind of destination. But I'd like industry to get behind this idea as well and talk about it, because I think it's the only way to get around the coordination problem. It's not going to happen otherwise. And finally, I would say that, we have a data problem as well. We don't measure. We are digital everywhere. When you go to the airport, you can use DigiYatra, etc. There needs to be a sort of digital tourism stack with data and make it even easier with all kinds of experiences things you can measure. The measurement today is extremely poor, other than a foreign tourist landing in. And I mean, the self-reported data coming from industry is not very good. I mean, the ministry itself acknowledges it. So there's a data problem. I mean, we worked with UP to use GST data to try to estimate tourism revenue in certain centers because they just didn't have the data. They were flying blind. So while they didn't put in much money, but in order to create a plan, you need to have some numbers, some baseline to start with. So I'll go, and then of course I think there are small things like this PPP model. That's not with the tourism ministry; it's with the culture ministries. They adopt a heritage. They have Adopt a Heritage 2.0, and there's some like Sabhyata Foundation, which Puneet and Avanti Dalmia run, which has now got 5 major monuments in Delhi, including the Red Fort and Mehrauli Archaeological Site and others. But we are now working, I think there is a 3.0 because there's still lots of issues in terms of ironing it out. But and here CSR is allowed. But if we can get this ironed out, I would really like 100 corporates to take up 500 sites across India and really improve the experience, the cleanliness, the amenities, the sound and light show, the cafe and restaurant experience there, all of that stuff. You may not, there's even a radical idea now to open up the conservation of the monument to an empaneled set of folks. Right now, ASI has pretty much a monopoly on the restoration of monuments. Why can't that be opened up? Again, empanel people who you think are worthy of doing it. And then let CSR fund it alongside Government of India. Why prevent someone if they are interested in restoring something? Aga Khan Foundation did a great job, but that's like a one-off. I mean, they did it in 3-4 places, but it's a one-off. We need to really open this up so that corporates can get much more engaged with really transforming, because there's no other place in the world that has such a wonderful set of monuments, not just in Delhi, but all over the country. I mean, China doesn't have it because they destroyed a lot of their heritage under Mao. So I'll just recap the sort of 5 things I said. The first is that bigger budget. Shame that we have a 3 crore marketing budget, Government of India. Shame that the overall budget is 25 crore. It's a shame that states like Rajasthan have a 1,000 crore budget for tourism. Just need to change the budget. And we need to lobby for it. These budgets need to be 10 plus X. The Buddhist circuit alone needs a 10,000 crore budget from government. Tinkering around is not going to make any difference. This is the Mecca of Buddhism. It's the equivalent of Mecca for Buddhism. It's the source where every Buddhist should come to. In fact, the marketing campaign should be exactly that. Once in your lifetime, you have to come to Bodh Gaya, right? And we need to think of the ROI of that 10,000 crore. There are 500 million Buddhists, many of them fairly high incomes in East Asia. Complete missed opportunity. And we're tinkering around with these programs right now. And I can tell you there are at least 5 circuits in India that need a massive dose of capital, and they can be transformed. And then the private sector will come in. And the private sector will invest 10x what government does eventually over a 10, 15-year period of time. Because private sector will build everything else around the basic infrastructure. So I think budget is key. Second thing is ease of doing business. It just has to become benchmark against the best and make it happen. And I really feel that if you all are willing to talk to us, we'll work with you. I will lobby hard to get the FSI and norms changed for this sector. Because the footprint is so low, we need to make it. This sector, as I told you, it's the most labor intensive. 143 jobs for every $1 million of investment. There is no other sector that can give you that. None other, right? So as I mentioned earlier, 40 million jobs to 80 million jobs, the only sector that can create the incremental 40 million jobs. The third one is the DMO. We talked enough about it. And the fourth one is this private sector engagement in a much bigger way. And then, of course, the data issue. So sorry, this should have been, talking about nice stuff. And I did in the beginning with my personal experience. But I really think that the Oberoi Group and the industry really needs a new vision for tourism in India. This 10 million is a shame. It's a shame. And you need to get in your head that it's a shame. And every one of you should be thinking about how you can play some role in changing that and working to make India a destination for the world. Not a place that has 1% global market share, but a place that eventually has 5% global market share of foreign tourists. So that's my vision for you. Thank you very much.